Shalom everyone, and all praises to the Most High Yahweh Alua, and unto our done and Savior Yahushua Mashiach, and welcome to another episode on Yashara Discovery Channel. And today we're talking about Under the Dome Part 1, Israelite or Hebrew Cosmology. Now, the reason for this video is because within the realm of believers, Israelite, whether you call it Christian or Messianic or Hebrew roots, we are under attack by the secular scientists. And it's been decades on decades that they have tried to disprove the Bible via quote-unquote science and even cosmology, or should I say the study of the universe. Now, it is important to understand the Israelite cosmology, because the Israelite cosmology has a lot to do with the scripture itself. And at the end of the video, you're going to have to make a choice and pick a side, because I'm afraid to tell you that secular cosmology, the cosmology that we all adhere in here on the world today, is not compatible with the cosmology of the scriptures. And if one is wrong, then you should give up the other ultimately. So without further ado, I'm going to explain throughout the video, and let's get into it. Alright, so for the first part, we'll be demonstrating that the first book of Genesis is factual, or in other words, or a real event, and especially to the writers themselves. So to the biblical writers, from Genesis all the way to Revelations, the people that wrote the Bible that we have today, I'm going to demonstrate, not even try, that the book of Genesis, to them, everything that's recorded in there was real events, historical things to them. And for us believers, if it was historical event for them, then it's going to be historical event for us as well, ultimately. Because then we're hypocrites then. And that's not something I'm trying to do when I'm preaching or when I'm teaching. I am not trying to be a hypocrite. But anyway, I digress. Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. And the way we can demonstrate is because people are quoting it later on. So if they're quoting events that has happened in Genesis chapter 1, then to them, these are real events, not imaginary things. But let's read. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. So now, you're going to have to go check if somewhere else people are saying this thing about Elohim creating the heavens and the earth. Isaiah, or Yeshayahu, chapter 45, verse 18. And we read, For thus saith Yahuwah, that created the heavens, Elohim himself, that formed the earth. You see? They're saying it again, all the way to the book of Isaiah. It's very specific God. He created the heavens and the earth. That's his signature, his stamp. So yeah, you know which God you're talking about. But anyway, and he made it. He hath established it. He created it not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am Yahuwah, and there is none else. Even in the book of Isaiah, they're saying this thing about, Yahuwah created the heavens and the earth. So this means that that was a real event. And I'm sure that most of you, we all believe, as believers, that and know to be true that the Most High created the heavens and the earth. We don't think it's poetic. We think it's fact. So how comes later on when we're talking about Firmament, when we're talking about Adam, then all of a sudden it becomes poetic? It's not really real. What do you mean? So why don't you use the same criteria for the first verse then? It could be poetic. It's not really God that created the heavens and the earth, for that matter. If I'm following your argument to its logical conclusion, no, we're not going to do that. So then you've been a hypocrite. You're picking and choosing. But I digress. Another one. Assume, or Kizayim. Revelations chapter 10, verse 6. And so by him that liveth forever and ever, who created heaven and the things that therein are, and the earth, you see, specific God again and again. And the things that therein are, and the sea, and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. So if all the way to Revelation they're quoting Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, as in talking about this God that created the heavens and the earth, then this means that it's a fact for them. And if it was a fact for them when they wrote the Bible that we have today, quote unquote Bible, then it's going to be a fact for us as believers. I don't care what you're calling yourself, Israelite, Messianic, Christians, and all this stuff. If to them these were real events, it's going to be real events for us, or else we're hypocrites. Then, but me, I'm not. I'm rocking with them. Let's continue. Let's talk about something else. The waters above. Because all this stuff they mentioned in the book of Genesis chapter 1. And they're going to pave the way for the cosmology. And you're going to see it's not compatible with the cosmology that we have today. The secular science talking about space and Jupiter and all that stuff. Bereshit chapter 1 verse 6 to 7. And Elohim said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. You see? So according to Genesis chapter 1, there's waters above us and there's waters under us, or on the land, or where we at. Now, let's continue. Verse 7. And Elohim made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. So, confirming what I just said. Now, that the sea is somewhere else, people think that there's waters above us in the Bible. Because if they're quoting that, this means that this person believed that it was real. It's not poetic. The name of Psalms, chapter 148, verse 4. Praise him, ye heavens of heavens, and ye waters that be above the heavens. So King David fully believed that there was waters above us. And if he did so, I'm going to do the same thing. Simple. If the Most High gave him as much inspiration to write the Psalms, yeah, and then we're going to use that today and say, though I walk in the shadow of the valley of the this and that, yeah, then I'm going to do the same for when you believe that there's waters up there. I'm going to use the same energy. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say, well, at this point, I think you were kind of tripping, David. No, he was not. Let's continue. Another thing, the firmament itself and the sea. Genesis 1, verse 8. And Elohim called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. Check this out. Psalms chapter 19, verse 1. To the chief musician of Psalms of David, the heavens declare the glory of Elohim. And that's true, right? And the firmament showeth his handiwork. That is not poetic what he just said right here. For sure. So to David, there's waters above, that's one. And on top of that, there's a firmament that divided the waters from the waters that are above, from the water that are down here with us. So to him, these events are fact. To the people of the Bible, Genesis chapter 1 is the real thing that really happened. And they're saying it over and over. Let me show you more. Let's talk about Adam. I'm going to show you something. Because I have a little beef with people out here talking about Adam is not the first man and there were people before Adam and all this stuff. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 to 27. And Elohim said, let us make men in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So he wants to make men, and he would always is Adam. But I digress. So Elohim created men, Adam in Hebrew, in his own image. In the image of Elohim created he him, male and female created he them. So that's a real thing. The Most High created everything, right? So how are we going to say that with Genesis chapter 1 is just purely poetic? How are you going about it? Let us continue and see if that was poetic. Matthew chapter 19, everyone, verse 4 through 5. And he answered and said unto them, have ye not read that which made them at the beginning? In Hebrew, the word is bereshit. But anyway, or we translate today in Genesis. At the beginning, made them male and female. Whoa, you just read that in Genesis, right? So why is Jesus quoting that if it's just poetic? Because he's using that in the argument right now with the Pharisees and scribes, right? Check this out now. And said, for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. That's a little poem that Adam said after Eve was brought to him, right? So, as far as we can gather now, just side notes, Jesus is quoting Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 to 27, and then he's quoting Genesis chapter 2 verse 22 to 24. So ultimately he thinks that Genesis chapter 1, when he's talking about male and female, and Genesis chapter 2, the event of Adam and Eve, is the same person. That's what he thinks, because he's quoting that as the same thing. So I'm killing two birds with one stone. You know what I'm saying? Like, one, that there's no such thing as your superhumans made before Adam and Eve, because the male and female is Adam and Eve. And two, Genesis chapter 1 is the real event to Jesus. And all of us believers, we all believe in Jesus, the majority of us. So if he believed that Genesis chapter 1 really happened, then we're going to believe the same thing. And you can't pick and choose. So if Genesis chapter 1, when it comes to the humans, when it comes to the Most High creating the heaven and the earth, is real, then when we're talking about the moon that is made and that is inside the firmament, then it's going to be real for us too. What I'm trying to make you understand is that the cosmology of the Israelite depends on Genesis chapter 1. So if the writers of the Bible believe that the cosmology was like so, we're going to do the same as believers. If we don't, then we are hypocrites. That's what I'm trying to make you understand. You can't choose both sides. You're going to have to pick a side. I'm afraid. I'm talking too much. Let's continue. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 13 through 14. For Adam was first formed, then Eve. So you see, it's quoting Genesis again, Paul, in the book of Timothy, as if it was something real, because he's using that as an argument. Verse 14, and Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in transgression. Now we have another problem. Those of you out here saying, well, the book of Genesis is, the forbidden fruit and all that stuff. It's metaphor, this and that. Well, Paul thinks that's a real event, because he's quoting that, saying that the woman was deceived. That's the event of, the forbidden fruit and all that stuff. Yeah? And that she was deceived before man. So to him, it's a real event. That's not metaphorical. Or else he's not going to quote that. If you read the whole chapter, he's complaining something. So if Genesis chapter 1 was real for these people that wrote the Bible, then it's going to be real for us today. Israelites, believers, whatever you want to call yourself. We're not going to play the hypocrites. I'm literally trying to please with you right now. Stop being a hypocrite. Stop being ashamed of the story of the Bible. You can't believe in it and then turn around and say, no, it's not really happened. When the writers fully believe that had happened. Because some people in suit and tie say that, well, the earth is the ball or whatever, or like we have evolutions and we have all these bones. Bull crap. Because some other people have creationist science right now. And you could do your research and see that evolution is complete BS. It's not even scientific. Nor is this globe theory. Just as a side note, we'd be quoting from that very verse that Jesus quoted when he was talking about male and female. And man shall leave, mother and father. Genesis chapter 2, 22 to 24. And the rib which Yahuwah Aluha taken from men made he a woman, and brought her unto men. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and there shall be one flesh. And what he said is fact today. And this very verse is the first pavement for marriage. The first. This is the ultimate verse for marriage though today. This is the law. This is Torah. Right here. So though that is a poet. Yeah, that is a poem right here. You're right. But it's a fact. You see? It can even work both ways. Let's use them poems and use that as a factual thing. How about that? So let's say right now I'm giving that, yeah, the book of Genesis is poetic, but it's poetic things about factual things. How about that? So it's a story basically. You're happy with that? But anyway, let's just show that he was quoting Genesis chapter 2 as well. So basically, when you read in Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, 27, men and female, that's not somebody else. Then when we read Adam and Eve, the rib and all that stuff, these are the same people. This is the same account. Hence why Jesus is quoting it. Yahushua is quoting it because it's the same account. He knows his Bible. And I will argue that is the one that inspired people to read it. But anyway, and then to end, we're talking about as well, you can read 1 Chronicles chapter 1 verse 1 through 54, and that gives you a genealogy from Adam. So if he has a genealogy, then these people think he was a real person. So it's not no BS. And it wasn't 12 people like some people like to say, oh, because in the book of the Anunnaki it says this and that. Nah. Genesis is not the book of Anunnaki. Or whatever you want to talk about, Sumerian tablets. It's a whole different culture. So the Genesis account is what we're going to believe as believers, and we're not going to jump into the Anunnaki and all this nonsense and taking it as factual events in terms of our, description of creation. Now, whether the Anunnaki were weird or not, yes, we can agree that they were because we're talking about fallen angels and all that stuff. But creation story, as believers, we're going to stick to the one in Genesis. I don't care what your theologian is saying. I don't care what your pastor is saying. I don't care what your first YouTuber that you like the most is saying. It doesn't even matter. And 1 Chronicles chapter 2 verse 1 and 8, still talking about genealogies of Adam. So if he has a genealogy, he was an actual real person. Or else the genealogy is bullcrap thing. But I digress. For the second part, we'll be talking about the firmament. And the firmament is a key component, a crucial one in terms of understanding this whole video and understanding the Israelite cosmology, or quote unquote Hebrew cosmology. Because once again, it is not compatible with secular science today, with the heliocentric cosmology that we have. Heliocentric meaning that it revolves around the sun. Helios, it revolves around the sun. That, the sun is the center of, quote unquote universe or whatever. So, let us jump into Genesis chapter 1 verse 7, and we're going to check a bit of the language, or Hebrew. And Elohim made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. Now when we check the language, we want to know what the thing firmament means, because some of my detractors are trying to say that firmament is some sort of thing that disappeared and it's not really hard, it's not, it's gas or whatever, air, I don't know. Now we're going to see if the Hebrew supports this idea. And check the Hebrew itself, Genesis 1 verse 7, we just read that. Yeah. And we're going to go to the word firmament. It's harakia, the firmament. Harakia, or rakia itself. Check what is it. An extended surface expands. Extended surface expands. And then here they give you expand 16 times, expanse of heaven once. Check this out. Yeah, one flat expanse. Yeah, and they give you scriptures. And check this out. Number 2, the vault of heaven, regarded by the Hebrews as solid and supporting the waters above. So these cannot be compatible with the cosmology that we have today. So one is wrong. And on top of that, the origin or root word for rakia is this, is raka. 875:54, raka, to beat, stamp, beat out. You don't beat out things that are air. It needs to be solid, spread out, beaten, hammered, spread, stamp, stamped. It's very clear that the Hebrew writers believed that this firmament was a solid thing. And we're going to do the same as believers, or else we are not believers. And if you doubt of the Hebrew, we're going to also check the Greek, because remember we have an Old Testament written in Greek, the Septuagint. Even the Hebrew writers that wrote the Greek Septuagint, they put the Greek word for solid. I'm going to show you. Genesis chapter 1. Click on it. Verse 7. Scroll down. And the word for firmament is here. Stereoma. G4733. A solid body, foundation, firmness, steadfastness, firmness. Something established. Scroll down. Firmness. Scroll down. Check this out. The dome of heaven, believed to be solid canopy. The firmament. Check this out. The firmament arch of the sky, which in early time was thought to be solid. So you're stuck. It means what it means. And the word is derived from this. See? Stereo. To make firm. Strengthen, confirm, establish, strengthen, confirm. Solidify. So once again, this firmament was believed to be solid. The dome over your head. This is what the biblical writer thought to be. And if they were wrong about that, then they gotta be wrong about everything then. How can the Mosai inspire them to give us prophecies that's gonna not happen before thousands of years? Show us the future in the book of Revelation and stuff like that. Give us the prophecies. And then all of a sudden, when it comes to the cosmology of the world, the Most High can't even help them? They're gonna be wrong about that? Nah. No, I'm not rocking with that. I am not rocking with that. If they believe that to be true, and we're gonna know that the Most High is true, then his word must be true. And if his word says that there's a solid dome over my head, then I'm gonna rock with that. I have no shame at all. I can care less about what the scientist is saying, because for all we know, they have an agenda to not tell you the truth, to not show you that the Most High is not in the fall multiverse, but right over your head. We demonstrated that this thing is hard, that the firmament is solid. A solid expanse, a solid vault, a solid dome, according to the Israelite, according to Hebrew and even Greek, the oldest Bible that we had. So now we're going to see if they're repeating the same thing again somewhere in the scriptures. So talking about this firmament to make sure that we have our witnesses. Daniel, chapter 12 verse 3. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament. So he's saying that this firmament thing is shining. If you think about crystal or something like that. But anyway, I'm not talking too much. And they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. So you see, he's talking about the firmament as if it's a real thing. And he's saying that this thing is shining, comparing, a shining thing to the firmament. So we got a huge problem if the firmament is something that they made up in their mind. Or if that's the atmosphere. But anyway, the hymn of Psalms chapter 19 verse 1. To the chief musician of Sons of Dawood, the heavens declare the glory of Elohim, and the firmament shows his handiwork. So now we understand what we're talking about with handiwork. And if you read the handiwork thing in Hebrew, it's H30:27, talking about a real hand. But let's continue. You want Job chapter 37 verse 18, and we read, "Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong as molten looking glass?" So now we got a huge problem, because they're saying that the Most High made the sky hard as molten looking glass. Have you ever seen molten looking glass? This thing that's melting and then it becomes hard straight up, like after less than a minute. If they're comparing the sky to that, then for sure we don't live on a ball as far as we're concerned with the Israelites' belief. I mean, you gotta pick a side, y'all. Like, at this point, you must answer the questions. Our scripture is clear. It's not compatible with secular science. First of all, we're talking about evolution. It's not compatible with it, and y'all know. So when it comes to the shape of the earth, do you think it's going to be the same? If you was to show this little globe thing, this marble nonsense to an Israelite, like a first century Israelite or whatever, you'd be thinking you're tripping. Because for sure, the Israelite did not believe, and even Jesus, none of the Israelites, believed that they lived on a spinning ball, that is pulled by the gravitational pull or whatever of the sun through the Milky Way galaxy, that nonsense. For sure, they did not. Let's continue. Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 1, to have a context. Then it came to pass, in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the rivers of Sheba, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of Elohim. So first of all, he said the heavens are open. So, we just read that we had what's it called? The firmament, it was solid. Now we are told that the heavens are open. Like, right now, we can actually see that this thing is more literal to them. But I digress. And then is a vision. So let's now see what the vision is like. So he goes on to see some angels or some spiritual beings that look like animals and humans at the same time. It'd be too long to go through the whole script. So I'm just going to paraphrase it. You can go read by yourself if you want to make sure that I'm not lying or whatever. But then he says this, in the likeness, in verse 22, and then we're going from 22 to 26. In the likeness of the firmament, upon the heads of the living creatures, so these spiritual beings, was as the color of a terrible crystal, stretched forth over their heads above. So you see, he's having a vision that is taken to heaven, and right above the heads of the angels, there's the firmament, and he's saying that this thing looks like crystal. So I don't know about y'all, but I'm rather believe Ezekiel than to believe any theologian or to believe secular science. Let's continue. 23. And under the firmament were their wings straight to the one towards the other. Everyone had two, which covered one this side, and everyone had two which covered on that side their bodies. Talking about describing these creatures, these angels, if you want. 24. And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of great waters, as the voice of the Almighty, the voice of speech, as the noise of an host. When they stood, they let down their wings. So he's describing how they're moving, and it looks terrible, and it looks very impressive. 25 now. And there was a voice from the firmament. See this crystal thing that was over the head of the angels and that is looking through? Let's continue. That was over their heads when they stood and had let down their wings. 26 now. And above the firmament that was over their head was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone. And upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness of the appearance of a man above upon it. So now, this verse right here is crucial. And if you don't subscribe to Flat Earth after reading this, then nobody can help you. He's telling you right there that after the firmament is the throne of the Most High straight up. Yes, there's waters above after the firmament, but I'm saying after that, basically, is the throne of the Most High. Do you know what it means? I want you to listen to me carefully right now. It means that the Most High is not some multiverse billion years away from us, or somewhere in the vacuum of space, yeah, or some spiritual thing that is far. No. He's right above our heads, y'all. This is what your text is saying. Your scripture is telling you that the Most High, when you look up the sky, the Most High is looking at you straight up. He's not somewhere far away. He's next to you. Could you actually understand how people will believe even more in the scriptures if they understood that the Creator was right there? That's crazy, y'all. Our scripture is telling you something beautiful, that our Creator is right above our head. This means that we are special and that we're the center of the issue of salvation, and sin is here. You don't need to go to space. You don't need to go nowhere. It's right here. You mean something because you made, first of all, in the image of the Most High. And on the top of that, your Creator is right above you, looking at you. But it also means that it's dangerous because He's taking more accounts of us like that, though. Because He's right above us and He sees us. Hallelujah. But let me not get too preachy. Let's continue. Psalms chapter 14, in 1 verse 2. And Yahuwah looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there were any that did understand, and seeketh Elohim. But you see, He's just looking down on us. It's not some billion multiverse away from us. It's right there. When you look to the sky, why do we spread our hands forth when we pray? That's how people really pray in the Bible. Yeah? Because Yahuwah is right there. Yes, the heavens and the world cannot contain Yahuwah because He's omnipotent, omnipresent, and whatever. Because He's not just a physical being or whatever. He's a spiritual being. So, and He's infinite, so He can be anywhere and everywhere. But His throne, where He resides, is right above our heads. Right above that firmament, that solid thing. That's what your scripture is teaching you. It's not what I'm saying. It's literally what your scripture is teaching you. So no, you can't believe in space and all that stuff when your scripture tells you that right above you, there's a dome, and right above that dome, be the water, and the Most High throne is right there. It's not compatible. You're going to have to make a choice. Very simple. This is why scripture tells us things like that Yahuwah just looked down on us. And it's literal. It's not some poetic stuff that He's saying. It's being for real. Taking under the history of the Bible. No accounts. Same thing. Psalms. Or the Helen chapter 53 verse 2. Elohim looketh down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there were any that did understand, that did seek Elohim. You see? Same thing again and again. That almost is just looking down on us. Hathum, okay, Zion, Revelations, the 4 verse 6. Talking about the throne right there. And before the throne, there was a sea of glass, like unto the crystal. You see? There's even a firmament under the Most High. Under the throne, there's a firmament. And then there's water, then there's our firmament. Let's continue. And in the midst of the throne, and around about the throne, there was 4 beasts full of eyes before and behind. So you see, even John sees the same thing as Ezekiel with these living creatures, the beasts, these angels looking like creatures. But still, the firmament to the Israelites, to the people of scriptures, this thing was for real. And if they believe that, this thing, there was a dome over their head, I'm going to believe the same thing. I don't care. I'm not interested. Even if I have to disprove the whole science of the word for that, I will. Because that is the truth. If Yahusha died for our sins, and we're going to believe that Yahusha died for our sins, and we're going to believe it's cosmology too. Straight up. I'm not a hypocrite. Genesis chapter 1, verse 6 through 7. And Elohim said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Now we understand why he says that. Because this thing is hard. Crystal, like molten looking glass. And Elohim made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. Simple. Case closed. And that's going to talk about the waters above. Because to support these waters, that thing is hard. And we're going to make sure that we're not tripping. In the scriptures, they're going to make us understand that there was a solid thing to hold the waters above us. Psalms. We just read that before, but we're going to go again. So stick in your head. Chapter 148 verse 4. Praise him, ye heavens of heaven, and ye waters that be above the heavens. They're being serious, y'all. I don't know how much time I'm going to say it. Let us see chapter 7 verse 11. And 1 to 12. In the 600 years of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were open. So if you have a window, this thing must be solid, y'all. 12. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. So this thing, this deluge or this flood was for real. Because many times in the scriptures, people repeat that has happened. The flood. And it's not a local flood. It's a worldwide flood. But let me show you. Genesis chapter 7, verse 19 to 21. And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. So if somebody's trying to strongman you and say, oh yeah, it was a local flood or whatever, and no, it wasn't really water. Well, for this thing to cover the hills of the world, the whole world, yeah, everything that is under the whole heaven, then that must be a lot of water though. Simple. 20. 15 cubits of words did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. So this thing covered the mountains too. And all flesh died. See, that's not local. Because all flesh is all. You don't tell me how much is all, y'all. Come on. Anyway, and all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of the fowl and the cattle and of the beast and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man. So this thing, according to the scriptures, really happened. It was really water. It wasn't air. It wasn't an asteroid or whatever. It was water that comes from above and the water that came from under the great deep. Simple. You're going to close that down shut it down once and for all. So even in the New Testament, they believe that there was waters above. And if there are waters, then they must be supported by what? Something solid. But anyway, so 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 5. Or Shenin Kippah, chapter 3, verse 5. For these, they willingly are ignorant of that by the word of Elohim, the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water. So for sure, the waters that is above and the waters that are under. Simple. Case closed. So we've demonstrated once again that at first, the book of Genesis chapter 1 is literal, and secondly, that the firmament is also literal, and that the Israelite and everybody in the scriptures believe that this thing was solid, as solid that you can support the waters that is above heaven, above us. So no, not compatible with secular science. I'm afraid to tell you the truth. You're gonna have me pick a side. And before I go further into the next part of the video, which is the third part basically, I just want to put something to bed, so no one's gonna come after me. Because my detractors, I know they always have something to say. So Isaiah 40 verse 22, it is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them as a tent to dwell in. So you see, people will concentrate on the circle of the earth, but they forget that it says that it stretched out the heaven as a tent. Yeah, you problem on the ball. Couldn't get it tent on the ball, but you know, people focus on the circle thing. Now the problem is that circle is very different than a ball, you know, because people sometimes forget that we also have that verse right here. So Isaiah chapter 22 verse 18, he will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball into a large country. There shalt thou die, and there the chariots of thy glory shall be the shame of thy Lord's house. So you see, he could have used circle here as well, you know, but it says ball because it's a different Hebrew word. We can go check it if you want to. So in Isaiah 42 verse 22, 40 verse 22, the circle is right here. It's Hog. The word is Hog. It says the vault horizon. Hog. Yeah. Circle, vault. See? The vault of heaven. Right here also. Only of the vault of heaven. Talking about. So once again, validation for the dome or the vault of heaven. So that circle that you see talking about, it's not a ball, it's a circle that you can draw on a flat surface, like every circle. In verse 22 or chapter 22 verse 18, when it's talking about the ball is kudur, like a ball right here. So you got a circle sometimes or a ball. Do circle, a ball. Yeah, a ball. Talking about a ball. So the word is not the same. We had hug for the circle thing, and they said the vault of heaven. And here we have dur, which is a ball. It's not the same word used, but it's two different things. In a circle and a sphere or a ball, they are not the same. They're two different things. Circle and a ball is not the same thing. Yeah? Two different things. Definition of a circle and a sphere. A circle is a two-dimensional figure, whereas a sphere is a three-dimensional object. A circle has all points at the same distance from a center along a plane, a flat plane. See? Whereas a sphere, all the points are equidistant from the center at any of the axes. So there's a huge difference between a circle and a sphere. I don't want people to use that against me and say, yo, the ball that hang up on nothing, all that stuff. No, it's not going to work. And to finalize it, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 14 to 17, all now we know that this firmament is solid. Look what it says. Verse 14. And Elohim said, let there be lights inside the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and for years. And let them be for lights once again, inside, firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater lights to rule the day and the lesser lights to rule the night. He made the stars also. And Elohim set them once again, it's the third time he says the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. So just want to mention that the sun and the moon, they are inside the vault that has water above it, according to the scriptures. So the sun and the moon, they're small thing, they're local lights, according to the Bible. They're not 3 million miles away and all that stuff. No, not 3 million miles away. No, they're not. They're not. And one is not bigger than the other, according to scriptures. One give a lesser light, one give a greater light. But they're in the firmament, they're in the earth. Localized light. So once again, the scripture is not compatible with secular science at all. Like, you can't, never. It's not going to work. Let us jump to the next part. So for the third part of the video, we're talking about that the prophecies and the miracles of the scriptures does not match the globe theory or the globe model, because there's a lot of discrepancies when it comes to what certain miracles that's mentioned in the scriptures are in, the secular cosmology that we have today. And let me show you. So you're going to Yahusha or Joshua chapter 10 and 1 verse 12 to 14. Then spake Yahusha to Yahuwah in the day when Yahuwah delivered up the Amorites before the children of Yasharal. And he said in the sight of Yasharal, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. So right there, we were told that Yahusha asked the Most High to stop the sun and the moon. Let's continue. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people have avenged themselves upon their enemies. It is not this written in the book of Yasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about the whole day. So we were told that the sun and the moon stopped, according to the book of Yahushua, the book of Joshua. Now we have a huge problem though, because the only thing that's mentioned to stop is the sun and the moon. And then we know that according to science today, that the gravitational pull of the sun is pulling the whole earth and all that stuff. Yeah, earth and the moon at the same time. So can you imagine if the sun stops at one point? Or if the moon stops as well? All other cataclysms that will happen. Like real life, y'all. But that's according to nowadays science, or nowadays scientism. I want to call it like that. 14. And it was not a day like that, before it or after it, that Yahuwah hearkened unto the voice of a man, for Yahuwah fought for Yasharah. So he didn't say that earth spinneth thou not. He said to the moon and to the sun to stop their course, to stop moving. Why didn't he say, earth, spinneth thou not? Huh? He did not say that. And you can't just say, oh well, he said that because, well, the earth will stop eventually. No, he had to say sun stop moving, then he had to say moon stop as well. Making you think that maybe they're not one of the same, because that's what secular science is telling you. That they're, they're their own light. I digress. So once again, if you check in your science today, if the moon was to stop, there will be a whole bunch of disasters that will happen. And we have not had anything of that nature recorded in history all now. That one day the moon stopped and then, the tides or whatever. But that's if the little theory is true, and then, the secular scientism that right now people believe in, it was true. So once again, it's not compatible with the miracles in the scriptures. And once again, Yahusha did not ask for the earth to not spin neither, or not move. And make you understand that the moon is its own object. In secular science today, they make you believe that the moon shines because of the reflection of the sun. And that's a scientific article right now. So we need to be careful, though. Let us continue. Mark chapter 13 verse 24. But in those days, after the tribulations, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. You have a huge problem, y'all. Because according to secular scientism, the moon light comes from the sun's light. Then here we're told in the scriptures that the moon has its own light. Literally. Matthew chapter 24 verse 29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. And check this out. And the stars shall fall from the heavens, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. Now, according to these people, we have billions, zillions stars. If the stars of heaven drops here, y'all, forget about flipping. Forget about Al Qaeda. Forget about Boko Haram and all them things there, y'all. Forget even about the Antichrist. Because for sure, we ain't going to have time to see that. Because everybody dead at this point. If all the stars that they're saying, that was like billions, zillions, infinite number of stars in the space or whatever. If all of these stars drop here, y'all, we ain't gonna have time to see Jesus coming back. Because we're gonna be dead. So once again, y'all need to be careful. And this is Revelations. That's Matthew. So that's Jesus' own word. He's saying that the stars of heaven will fall here, y'all. So once again, these miracles that are mentioned in scriptures, they're not compatible with what they're saying the universe or the world to be. Pick a side, y'all. Genesis chapter 1 verse 16. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Three things that we're going to learn from this right here. So all now we know that Genesis is literal, right? Okay. So he made two lights, not one, which is the sun, like this in today. No, he made two, the sun and the moon. One is to rule the day, which is the sun, and one is to rule the night. And we only told that he made the stars after. He ain't made no freaking Jupiter and all of this nonsense. These are not real stuff. I don't even want to dive into that right now. Let's talk the Bible, cosmology. The stars, they're here, the sun and the moon, which have their own light according to the Bible. So once again, it's not compatible with secular scientism today. With the secular science that we have, it's not compatible, y'all. You're going to have to make a choice. I'm going to stress that again and again. This is serious stuff, y'all. First Corinthians, or Corinthians, Rishon, chapter 15, verse 41. There is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the star. For one star differeth from another star in glory. So these things are lights, y'all. They're lights in the heavens, according to the Bible. So the sun is his own light from the biblical perspective, and the moon is his own thing, his own light. This cannot be compatible with secular science, because today they tell you that the sun's light reflects on the moon. That's why the moon has light. But the Bible says otherwise. The earth is flat, y'all, according to the Bible. And we can demonstrate that. That's going to be the next part, the second video. The first video, we concentrated on the biblical cosmology. What the biblical writer believed the world to be like, or quote unquote universe. Let's continue. Isaiah chapter 13 verse 10, and see that even the stars falling out here down on earth, it's even in the Old Testament. For the stars of heaven and the constellation thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his own going forth, and the moon shall not cast her light. You see? Here we go. Their own light. Their own light. Sun is his own thing. The moon is his own thing according to the Bible, y'all. You can't go against it. If you believe in the Bible, you must believe the same thing as them. Or else, these prophecies are not real. In Jesus, we see that Yahushua said that, Yahushua Mashiach, because Yahushua is Joshua, also Yahushua. That's a long story. That he said that the stars of heaven will fall upon us. And if that's the case, then we ain't seen him coming back, y'all. That's for sure. Because if the globe theory is true and the space is real and all that stuff, there's an infinite number of stars. So right now, Earth is destroyed before Yahushua comes back here. That's for sure. Mark chapter 13 verse 25. And the stars of heaven shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken. See, once again and again, if the people in the Bible are right, and then realistically we live on a globe and all that stuff, we ain't seeing Yahushua coming back for sure. Because them stars, if they're dropping here, we all gone. Revelations chapter 6 verse 13. Chasum or Kazayam 6:13. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when he's taken of a mighty wind. You see, once again, they're saying in the future event that the stars of heaven will fall upon earth. Isaiah chapter 3 verse 4. And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heaven shall be rolled as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as a leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a failing fig from the fig tree. So you can't just say, oh yeah, it's Revelation, and Revelation is highly apocalyptic and all that stuff. Nah, because Isaiah is saying the same thing. So once again, if this love theory is true, we're seeing Yahushua coming back for sure. If all of the bazillion stars drop here, we're gone before he comes back. But it's not true. Straight up. And that's why I'm here today, to show you that our scriptures is not compatible with what they're saying that the universe is. Let's jump to point number 4. Last point. Let us confirm that the earth is unmovable according to the Bible. Once again, showing that it is not compatible with what they're saying today in terms of cosmology. secular scientism or science, whatever you call it, is not compatible with the biblical cosmology, because the Israelite, they're saying that according to the word of the Most High, this earth does not move. But science today is saying that we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Psalms, Tehillim, chapter 104, verse 5. Who laid the foundations of the earth? So you can't have foundations on a ball, y'all. That's one. That it should not be removed forever. This thing does not move according to the Bible. The earth that we're in, it ain't spinning according to the Bible. So if they're right, then the biblical writers are wrong. First Chronicles chapter 16 verse 30. Fear before him all the earth. So we're talking about the Most High, right? The word also shall be stable, that it be not moved. You need to be careful, y'all. You need to be careful of what you believe. The word to be. You're basically saying that the Most High is tripping. The Bible is the flat earth book, yes. And nothing wrong with that. We can affirm and confirm and prove, quote unquote, that the earth is flat. Psalms chapter 93 verse 1. Yahuwah reigneth. He is clothed with majesty. Yahuwah is clothed with strength, wherewith he hath girded himself. The world also is established, that it cannot be moved. This thing is not spinning according to the Bible. Not compatible with their science today, which is scientism. It's not even science. Real science proves the Most High. Psalms chapter 96 verse 10. Say among the heathens that Yahuwah reigneth. The world also shall be established, that it shall not be moved. It shall judge the people righteously. These people were saying that literally. They're not saying that as a joke. Isaiah chapter 45 verse 18. Over and over, we have more than that. The scriptures to show these that I believe that the earth was flat. But thus saith Yahuwah, that created the heavens. You see, like in Genesis chapter 1. Elohim himself that formed the earth. He made it. He hath established it. He created it not its vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am Yahuwah and there is none else. You see, he established it. This thing is not moving. Simple. 2 Peter on Shenin Kippur, chapter 3 verse 9. Yahuwah is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but he is long-suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. As the actual message as the end. And I'm not saying to repent because they believe that the world was round before watching this video, or that they believe that the Bible was teaching that. No, I'm saying it as the ultimate message. Anyone watching this video, because when we understand our world, then we understand our Creator. When we understand our Creator, then we know what He wants from us, which is repentance. I'll close with that. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 17. I said in my heart, Elohim shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. It's a time for you to discover the truth, time for you to be lied to, and time for you to come to repentance. Everything is made for a reason. You are not an accident, my friend. Watching this, you are made for a purpose. The Creator is right above your head, looking at you every day. It's not far in some multiverse or some far distant galaxy. He's right above your head. And don't be ashamed of that. This means that you're special. Whoever you are watching this, that you have a purpose, that you're made in the image of the Most High. And this place is made for you. Now, next part of this video, we'll be talking about the scientific proof that shows that we're not on a spinning globe, not on a spinning ball, but on a flat plane with the dome over our head. And with that, I say Shabbat Shalom.